What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and today we're going to get into some XFL Mini Camp and some XFL Training Camp. If it's your first time here, hey, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back and thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And remember, leave me those comments down in the comment section. I love to have conversations with you guys. Hey, and if you leave me a good comment, I'll definitely feature it in an upcoming video. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead. We are on the eve of training camp, and I want to finish out the mini camp because there's some things that I want to discuss about the mini camp that I thought that were pretty awesome. So looking at the mini camp, we're going to go ahead, we're going to grade each one of the teams' mini camps. We're not going to do a long thing. I'm just going to go through, give you my thoughts, a little bit of my thoughts, and we're going to go through and give each one of the teams a grade. Overall, I thought that it was a fantastic mini camp. I thought they did exactly what they wanted to do. I thought they did exactly what they needed to do. They got out there, they put the talent on display, and they let the guys talk in the media. I love the fact that they were interacting on social media, on Twitter especially, and things were just they were happening. There was news happening every day. The teams were just putting out little tidbits here and there from, their media teams and just putting together these cool little tips and, these little tidbits and all these little things. I thought it was fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I loved the little Twitter things that they did with the cool little catches and the neat little things. I thought it was pretty cool that they did the that water bottle challenge with all of the different long snappers and all of that. I thought that was pretty cool that they did that on Twitter. It was a neat thing. You could definitely tell that they were having fun with training camp, and they were allowed the players to have fun, and they were allowed fans to have access. I really like the fact that us as fans, we were allowed to have access to this. Overall, I think they hit it out of the park. I think they did a great job. That the mini camps were a home run. I think that they did what they needed to do with those camps, and they really showed their communities really what the XFL is all about. It's going to be about fun football. It's going to be football. It's going to be centered around fans, giving the fans a good experience, putting good talent out on the football field, and just having a whole load of fun doing it. It was fast-paced, and I loved every minute of it. All right, let's go ahead and let's start things off. And I'm not really doing this in any order. We're just going to start off. I'm going to give my thoughts on each one of the teams, and we're just going to kind of let it roll. All right, first and foremost, let's go ahead and let's just start in Houston. Houston's going to be where the training camp is going to be, and so let's just start there. Houston, I thought they did a fantastic job. Jones has got his team kind of rolling, and he's putting in that run-and-shoot offense, and you could kind of see that it takes a little bit of time for them to get it. And so I think it was great that they had a mini camp to get them to training camp, because I think they're going to need that. I think he's loving his quarterback. I think he's loving Philip Walker. I think he's got exactly what he wants. He's got an intelligent guy who's very athletic. That's exactly what he needs for his offense, and I think he's got the pieces around his offense. The defense, I don't know yet. Kind of up in the air about that defense. It's kind of didn't really see a whole lot. Nothing really stuck out to me. I think that they're going to be a neat team. I do think, though, that the West is a little bit I think it's going to be a little bit more tougher, to where I think the wins are going to be a little bit harder, but I think that they're going to be a hard win for anybody this season, especially with the way that offense is going to be clicking. But I like the energy there. I liked what they were doing. Little suspect of the defense, and so I'm going to give them a B+. I thought, too, that their media coverage, the media blitz, all the different things, the cool little videos that they did, I thought that was fantastic. I loved every minute of the way that they did that. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and let's move to let's go all the way down to Florida. Let's go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, if you remember, I know I've been pretty critical of all their color scheme and all of that. Set all that aside. You've got the color scheme I've been critical of. Their quarterback, not a big fan of Aaron Murray, but supposedly he's stepping up. He's being the guy that they want him to be, the leader. And maybe I was wrong about him. Maybe the system he was in was just all screwed up in the AAF, and maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe it wasn't the right fit in the piece, and maybe here with Trestman is the piece that fits for him. And you could definitely tell that Trestman's really put his kind of stamp on the team. And I really like, all of the stuff that they're kind of putting out there and that with it. really skeptical of them. I really don't know what they're going to be, but I thought they put together a pretty decent camp. They're not one of those teams that really came out with a lot of quote unquote star power. You got Aaron Murray, and what we've seen of him hasn't been necessarily the greatest, and people haven't had the faith in him. But what I'm hearing from camp is he's the leader that they want, and that it's looking like he's definitely going to be the guy for them at that quarterback position. So if they've got him shored up with that in that offense, I think that they're going to do some things. I think they're going to be something there. So I think that that's pretty cool. Giving them a B- just because I don't really know a whole lot about them. And, they've just got some question marks for me, especially the quarterback position, but it looks like things are coming together. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go back to the West Coast. We're going to go to L.A., and looking at the LA Wildcats, and yeah, they weren't in LA. They were out there in Las Vegas, but man, did they played hard and they worked hard. Winston Moss, the coach, worked them to death. And it was even one of those things to where you could even tell at the end when they released guys right at the end of training camp, when no other team really was, publicly putting that out and doing that. They went out and they released some guys. And you can definitely tell that he's got an idea of what he's wanting and that with it. And even though they were probably one of the better teams with kind of one of their media blitz, getting out there in the media, getting things out, getting things rolling, getting these cool videos out there, doing these neat things and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool and that with it. So for me, I thought all in all that they did okay. I thought that things were a bit tougher than some of the other ones. And I think I'm wondering if Winston Moss is kind of got what he wants. I don't know. They could be a really good team and they could just be a dumpster fire. I don't know. I do know one thing, though. The one thing that they picked up that really elevated them was getting Josh Johnson, taking Josh Johnson and bringing him into the fold. He's quarterback one. I mean, when you talk to the quarterbacks, when you looked at the way that they talked about the league, Josh Johnson is going to be QB1 for them. He's going to be their starter. Luis Perez, I think he's going to be a great backup for them, but definitely Johnson's going to be the starter, and that's really kind of the thing that I think has lifted it up for me, that they've got such a talented guy at quarterback, and that's going to be leading this team, so I think that the team's actually going to do fairly well, but I give them a B, a solid B. I thought it was all right. I thought things, I don't think that Moss really had things where he wanted them, and he was really pushing the players to start to get them to where they wanted to be, and that's why I gave him a B. All right, let's move back to the East Coast. DC, I liked what I saw there. Not really a whole lot. I think Cardell's going to end up being the quarterback there. I think he's actually going to be a star in the league. I think that DC is going to be one of those teams when you look at the end of the season, you're going to think, wow, they were actually pretty good. I think that they've got talent around there. I like the way that they did kind of with Hamilton and Cardell Jones. I like the way that they kind of, did the video with them and that, really showing the human side of things. And we got to see a little bit of ball out of them, and I think that they're going to do really good. Nothing too crazy out there with this one. Nothing to really kind of pull me one way or another, so I definitely give this one a B as well. All right, keep the trend rolling, and let's go ahead and let's move to Dallas now. Dallas, I think, probably had the best training camp. From day one, Dallas has been superb when it comes to media outlet, getting not only out into the community where they're at, but also putting stuff on social media and really trying to just create that atmosphere in Dallas and really, that Renegades craze and really try to just kind of build a following there in Dallas. I think that they probably have done the best out of all of the teams in their, in their markets and that with it. And listen, they've got the quarterback that they want. They got the coach that they want. They got the firepower that they want. And I think that they're actually going to have a fairly decent defense as well with this. They're going to be fast. They're going to be moving the ball fast. I think that it's going to be a really neat thing to see there in Dallas. I give them a solid A. It's probably the best mini camp that was out there. So let's go ahead now and let's move back to the East Coast, and this is probably the worst one. And New York, I'm not sliding you on this. I didn't really see a whole lot out of New York to really give me really any sense of where I feel like New York is at. However, I do feel like New York is going to be one of those teams when you look up at the end of the day, you're going to be like, wait, they had a winning record? I think they are going to kind of shock some people. And I think McGloin, the quarterback, he's definitely with everything they've been showing, they've been kind of putting him first and putting him, foremost in the foreground in front of everything. And I think rightly so. I think the guy's got talent. I think that he's going to do well for them. And I think he's going to really hold that offense together, hold that team together. And I think you're going to be surprised at the end of the day by them. But in all honesty, they really didn't put a whole lot out there. They put some stuff out there. It was all right. It was okay. But all in all, it just wasn't kind of the pizzazz and the neat stuff, and give me all of the, the cool little things that all the other teams did. So I give it a C+. Again, you guys didn't do bad, and I think that you guys have a great team. I just, when it came to the whole mini camp, putting it all out there, putting it all together, I just think that some of the other teams did it just a little bit better than you guys did. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna go back out to the West Coast. Let's hit up Seattle. Now, Seattle is a team that I think that they're actually going to be really good. I think that they're the San Antonio Commanders, pretty much like incarnate, resurrected. I think that they've got Mike Riley out there, and I really do think that having Jim Zorn there is really kind of solidified them. He's a Seattle guy. He's a living legend there in Seattle, and so I think having him there, I think, is huge. And they've just done a really good job there with their media, and that it hasn't been like over the top like what Dallas has done, but they've done really trying to get the whole community to rally around them and really trying to make that basis for it. And I think that they're going to be just a fun team to watch. So yeah, as I look at Seattle and I look at this, I look at Jim Zorn and I look at Mike Riley, I really do think that they've got a really good team that they put together. A lot of guys that Mike Riley already knows and is familiar with, especially on the offense, and that with it. And it's really interesting. They put out a piece about BJ Daniels, and it's really interesting. Again, Silvers. He's the guy that they've, that has kind of always been that quarterback that it just seems like he gets a position and then gets challenged, but then he gets his position back in this. And this seems to be, the way with it. However, we do know that Mike Riley, when he was in San Antonio, he liked to use the 2-quarterback system. So we definitely know that Daniels is definitely going to probably get on that field one way or another, and that he's going to be part of that offense. Now, whether or not he's going to be QB1 is another story, but it just shows, again, that they've got some good, healthy competition there. I think that they've done a really, really good job. We're just putting that whole mini camp together, getting the community out, giving people access, and really creating some buzz and that around Seattle. I think Seattle is going to actually be one of the better teams when everything is all said and done at the end of the season. I think they'll probably make the playoffs. Now, let's go ahead and let's round this thing out here, and let's go to St. Louis. I thought St. Louis was really interesting. Theirs was more laid back to me than the others. I don't know, and maybe that was just by the clips that they gave, the information that we saw. I think it's Marquette King. Their punter, he did some videos and some stuff, and showing him kind of out there running routes with the wide receivers and things. It just seemed really laid back. However, Jordan Ta'amau seems to be the guy that they wanted, and he seems to be really filling in that role, in that spot. So I'm really curious to really see how that offense kind of goes, with him and that. And so it's interesting, but I just felt like theirs was just a little bit more laid back. I definitely put a lot of media out there, gave us some glimpses into definitely the organization and that with it. I just felt like theirs was more laid back than the rest of them. The other ones were, kind of very, very, this is a business trip type of a thing, whereas theirs was, this is a business trip, but, kind of just taking it slow, putting things together as they go and that with it. I just didn't see maybe the urgency with them, and that's I'm not, no knock on St. Louis, the BattleHawks, no knock on them with that. I just felt like it was just a different feel than the rest of them. I give them a solid B though. I thought that they did a great job with minicamp. All in all though, the mini camps, they did a great job, and they did exactly what they were wanting to do, and that's get all of that, information out there to the public. And that's one thing that I really want to mention here is that the sports world is changing. I remember it used to be that the teams, the coaches were always talking about how, when we get out there, we need to keep focused and we need to know why we're here, when they were talking about going to bowl games and things like that and, not getting caught up in the media and, we're not watching the TV and things like that. And, and we're turning off our cell phones, this and that. We don't live in that day and age anymore. You really have to embrace that because you're not going to get away from it. That's the world we live in. And so to kind of live in those bubbles like we used to it's not good. I don't think it's good for the players. And I think you just need to embrace it. I think that there's too much of it. Don't get me wrong. I do think that there are points when we get way too much engulfed in what all's going around us. But, I think the coaches that do really understand that and take that into effect, that's really part of, our lives, the community in which we are. And I think that the XFL's done a really good job of incorporating kind of the media, the fans, and everybody into this whole experience. It's just not this closed door type of a thing that's happening. So I think that's pretty cool and pretty neat to see. So, being on the eve of training camp, let's turn our ideas to the training camp and kind of give you my initial thoughts of what's going to happen. Because I think training camp's going to be different than mini camp. So, mini camp was pretty open. I mean, not everything was open to the public, but they really tried to give the public a really good idea of what they're trying to bring to the forefront. The training camp, this is where things are going to get tough. This is where things are going to get hard. I think you're gonna start to see things closed off a little bit more. I think we're going to still get information, but we're not going to get flooded with the information like we were during mini camp. And I don't think we're going to get these hey come check us out, hey come check us out type of a things. I really think that these teams are really going to start to really hone in and really work on themselves and what they're doing, and having them all there in Houston is a good way to kind of get them away from the local communities where they're at and really kind of try to get them focused in one area, and also be able to kind of work on things together and that with it. So I think that the training camp is going to be different than the mini camp was. I still think that the XFL is definitely going to put information, put stuff out there. We're still going to get to see all the neat things and stuff. I just don't think that we're going to get direct access, and all of these just seem like hourly updates or these cool little tidbits on Twitter and things like that, like we have been with the mini camp. That's just kind of what I'm thinking, though. I think that training camp's going to be more let's get down to work, let's get business here, because the reality of it is we've got really just a little over a month beforehand. I mean, if you're looking at this, we've got really a month and 5 days, depending upon, when you're watching this, when you're not watching it. But we are on the eve of training camp, and I am just excited. I'm excited for it to start. That means that as soon as training camp starts, we can get this thing rolling. We're going to start to see moving and shaking. We're going to see these teams actually, we're going to see them materialize and start to get to see where they're going with these rosters. And, when they start to kind of narrow these rosters down and, the players that actually end up on the team, so we can really start to kind of get down to the nitty gritty and figure out, what we're actually going to see on the field and who's going to be the starters on day one and all that stuff. So I'm getting excited. I hope that you guys are excited, because, it's coming soon. All right. Well, I know that you're busy and know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.